Hey, everybody. It's Dr. Nicole Bonner with Dr. Patti Giuliano. Hi, Patty.
Hey, Nicole. How's
And
everything
we
on the East Coast there?
it's cold, baby. It's cold.
Yeah,
It's cold.
I'm in Arizona. It was 76 yesterday.
Nice. I'm
Yeah,
jealous.
it's nice. Yeah, I don't think I could ever live back on the East Coast again, except I would miss everybody. So that would bring me back. People,
Yeah.
but not the weather.
Yeah, for sure. It's a tough one this year, for sure. No doubt.
Yeah.
So we are on Getting Real, the podcast. And today our episode is on what's next. Our last episode, we talked about female chiropractors and getting pregnant and going through childbirth and what that looks like for your practice. And so today, Patty and I are going to discuss what it looks like after that. What's next? How do we, as business owners and busy chiropractors, how do we run a household and raise children and run a family, right? So there's lots of hats involved in what we do as female chiropractors for sure. So Patty, why don't you kick us off
Okay.
and share like a little bit about your experience with raising kids, being a business owner, being a wife, like
Yeah.
wearing the 20 different hats you've had to wear.
Yeah. So can I preface it by saying that what's really important for us female chiropractors is that we have a good, solid support base to go into
Mm,
this,
yes.
rather than going into it blind. And, I know there are women that are single parents, and I can't even imagine what that's like, because
Mm,
I had a husband who was a chiropractor who is totally
mhm.
supportive and
Right,
totally engaged. So,
right.
like you said, there are going to be many different varieties of this. I'm going to speak to my experience, and
Mm,
I can only assume about other experiences. You've got your experience. Your husband was not a chiropractor. And so
right,
different roles are played by the people that are supporting us.
right.
So, okay, so you're new in practice, you're just starting out, and then you get pregnant. And so actually it took me 4 years. I had my first baby 4.5 years into practice. But thank
Mm,
God, because that first baby was a challenge. You
mm,
don't know what God is going to give you, you know.
right.
And so that's the unknown. There is no way to know that. So you have to be very flexible,
Mhm.
adaptable, and that's our philosophy says that if we keep our nerve system clear. So number one, get adjusted. Get
Mhm.
adjusted, get adjusted, get checked and adjusted as much as possible through your
Right.
pregnancy, through the
Mhm.
delivery and the labor, and then afterwards. Okay. Then you have
Yeah.
that supporting person, whether it is a spouse, a partner, a friend, a great friend. And then you
Mhm.
enter it into practice. And for me, it took me 6 months to enter back into practice. And
Mhm.
Peter
Why
just
is that, Patty? Was it like
because
logistics or like emotionally or?
emotionally, physically, I went through a lot of physical stuff. As I look back now, Nicole, I probably had postpartum, as they call it, postpartum depression, although I would never acknowledge that I was depressed. I just thought, what the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Why is
Mhm.
it so hard for me? Why is everybody seemingly having an easy time with their babies? Why do women say, "Oh, I had my baby 2 weeks later, I was back in the office"? And that may be true for some. And I
Mhm.
think that if you're engaging on this process, you're not yet pregnant, you are in practice, you're new
Mhm.
in practice, take that into consideration. I know you have your story about that, and it, you just got, and sometimes you can't prepare for these things. You just have to be in it and do your best. So again, back to the support part. Just have people that you can call on who are going to be there to help you in
Right.
your house. Doulas very often do that after childbirth. Best friends do that. Hire a housekeeper, somebody who can
Yeah.
come in and do all the things. Hire somebody to come cook for you. And again, you may not have the cash to be able to do that if you're new in practice.
Right.
So 6 months later, Peter finally said to me, Patti, what's going on? I said, I feel like a victim to this little beautiful child that's in my arms. I can't do what
Mhm.
I want to do. And he said,
Mhm.
I will take care of the baby 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. And during those 2 hours, you go in the office. So that's how I started back. I started back 2 hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then
I love
I
that.
was in the swing of it, and then we got a babysitter. And I
Mhm.
then Peter and I both worked those 2 hours in the morning together, and then we got the babysitter for the evening hours. So then I started working 2 hours in the evening, and he was working all day, but I jumped in there, and I
Mhm.
started doing all the new patients and the
Mhm.
reports so that I could know all the new people that were coming into the practice, even if I didn't adjust them on a regular basis. I might see them
Right.
here or there to adjust them. But
Yeah.
that's how I engaged back in. Now, can a single mom chiropractor do that? Yeah, I have friends who hired nannies to come and
Mhm.
bring the babies to them, and they would nurse them, and just you can adjust your schedule. You can make your
Mhm.
schedule anything. You can work out of your home. There are
Right.
just, right, Nicole, so many ways to do it. So
Yeah.
share some thoughts about that, but also you probably have interacted with so many women chiropractors who are having babies. What do you find?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I feel like lately it's like baby season lately in chiropractic because I feel like that's all I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect topic. But a couple of points that I want to touch on, Patty, that I think are, like really practical tips here. Number one is you had mentioned taking care of yourself and making, we've all heard the old cliche that what is it, the plumber has the worst pipes, right? So making sure that you're being checked. And so my recommendation there as a practical tip is just like you would get your own patients on your schedule, like they're actually penciled, they're actually, on your schedule, on a certain routine, on a certain day, on a certain time. We need to, as women chiropractors, we need to do that for ourselves. And I find a lot of chiropractors, we go and we get our spine checked, but it's willy-nilly. It's like, hey, when my friend's in town, I get checked, or when I make it to, Dr. Anita's office, I get checked. No, we should be having a regular, schedule of our
Appointment.
checkups, right? It's just as important, if not more important than even our patients being scheduled. Because without you, your patients go unhelped, your husband goes unhelped, your children go unhelped. Okay, so that would be the first like practical tip there. My second practical tip is with the generation that I'm coaching. So I help more younger doctors because they're just opening practices. And with this generation, they have a whole thing that you and I never had to deal with, and that's social media.
Yeah.
And so what happens is because of social media, um, everything that everybody is doing and posting is right in front of our chiropractors, right in front of our female chiropractors. And so what I think happens is a lot of times whether and this is just day to day, not even people having children, but I think, a lot of times they're on social media and they're saying, oh, look how easy it was for this person, or God, they're a rock star. They had a baby 2 weeks ago and they're already in the practice. And then they start comparing themselves to what people are posting on social media. And now they feel less than, right? And so my practical point here, to go back to what you said, it took you 6 months to get in practice. My practical point is like God has a different path for everyone.
Right.
And never compare yourself to that next person because yeah, maybe that person went back into practice after 2 weeks, but you also don't know what else is going on inside that person's life that they're not posting. all the negative crap that they're not showing you, right? And
Right.
so that I think is a big lesson for young people today because there's a lot of like anxiety and depression over this keeping up with the Joneses, and back in our generation, we had it, right? But you were keeping up with the physical neighbors that we had physically living next to us or our physical friends, right? But these
Yes.
people are having to keep up with, 5,000 Facebook friends that they're all over the world and they're only posting the good stuff.
Mm. Yeah, and I compared myself to Peter. I mean, who can keep up with Peter, for God's sakes?
Well, and that's a great point too, is just the fact that, we're female and Peter's a male, that there's no comparison there anyway, because we're just different. We're
Right.
never going to be the same.
Right.
And I know like in today's day and age, a lot of people want to say like, oh, we're all equal. Yeah, we're all equal, but we're not all the same.
Right.
And there are things that you can do that Peter can't do because you're a woman. And there are things that Peter can do that you can't do because you're a woman and he's a man.
Correct.
So I think as women, especially my generation, I think it started in your generation. I think it was heavy in my generation where I feel like we were kind of like raised to be men, to like live in a man's world by being a man, and that doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, I was raised in a world that we are feminists and we should be equal to men, and it was interpreted, at least by me and the people that were in my circles, that we needed to be able to keep up with them and do what they do and be who they are. And,
Mhm.
I mean, you look at Hillary Clinton, she's a prime example of, a female who lost a lot of her femininity and tried to live in a man's world, being, trying to be a woman who was like a man. And
Yeah.
what changed that for me, it took years, but 12 years ago, when we started the League of Chiropractic Women, all of a
Hmm.
sudden I was with groups of women and doing seminars with groups of women, and it really changes things. It allows you to actually rise to your femininity, and it doesn't
Right.
mean we all have masculine feminine in us, but it
Hmm.
allowed, for me anyway, it allowed me to have my feminine come through, and that was just so empowering for me. But it helped my relationship. Peter and I already had a great relationship, but it it added like this playfulness to it. And,
Hmm.
just brought me more joy, when I was suppressing that for so many years. So yeah, you're right. My generation started, your generation kind of
Yeah.
took the flag and and marched with it. And I think we're, now we've got a generation that not sure who they are. Not
Right.
all of them, obviously, but they're
Hmm.
still like, trying to figure out their feminine, masculine aspects. And I
Yeah.
think it's beautiful. Let them figure it out. Don't impose it on me, but figure it out. And then
Yeah.
we'll see what that next generation does, you know.
Yeah.
But
I agree. I agree with you, Patty.
yeah, yeah. So I think your point, and we both said it, that we don't know what God has in store for us.
Right.
And we also have a philosophy that says there is organization to this world. There is organization
Right.
to the planets and the sun and how we rotate around the sun. And there is organization within our body and also within our lives.
Mhm.
So if we can just kind of step back, and that's what I'm doing lately a lot, since I'm going to call it retreaded myself, not retired, and came out of practice. And I'm moving into this new phase of my life. I'm
Mhm.
just, I'm being okay with who I am. I'm being okay with knowing that I am taking action steps. So it's not like I sit around and let God just gonna let the universe do whatever it wants with me. There's organization to how I'm experiencing my world. And I'm being very conscious to it, very conscious to who I am, what I want in my life. And for young people that are just having babies right now, this probably doesn't really, they probably can't take all of that in because I couldn't back then. So
Right.
I think for the young docs just getting through, just you're going to make it. And again,
Mhm.
again, the most important thing is to um, know you're going to be okay and that
Mhm.
nothing is always perfect. So it's not going to be perfect and you're going to figure it out. And if not, get help.
Right. Right. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many great points that you made there. I'm not even sure what to touch on.
Oh gosh.
But it's true. And just, so many things from you're right. God created us to be feminine and to have a certain role. That doesn't mean that we need to be home barefoot and pregnant.
Right.
But it also means that we should
Unless we
be,
choose to.
unless we choose to. Absolutely. Right. Um, but I do think it's important to intentionally and consciously tap into our feminine energy, especially where relationships are concerned. I remember Joe and we were going through something, and I had a mentor, and my mentor said, "Well, Nicole, you live in your male energy." He's like, no dude on the planet wants to be with male energy. And I was like, it like hit me like a brick, just being like authentic here. Maybe I'm sharing too much, but like it just hit me like a brick. Like, yeah, of course, my husband doesn't want to be with a male. No wonder why there's no intimacy in this season of our life, right? And so I had to
Mm,
consciously learn how to relearn how to tap into my feminine energy because my whole life, all my mentors were male. So my whole life, I was being wired and taught on how to function in the business world, especially like a man.
yeah. So how
And
did you
then
get through it?
well, so that's why we have mentors, Patty, I think. I think we have mentors that are brought into our life. I personally believe that God brings everybody into our life for a reason. And I
Mm,
think that sometimes the role of our mentor is to tell us things that may be hard to say, that
mm,
nobody else has the guts to tell us. And so when that happened, like it brought it to the forefront of my mind. Became conscious of the problem. And then once I was conscious of the problem, then I was able to consciously work on it, just like really any other skill. And so, develop more relationships with, female business owners, female entrepreneurs, female chiropractors, and just like anything else, I observed, and then I just did a lot of like internal work as well. I was like, who am I as a female?
mm.
Because I was like really clear on who I was as a chiropractor, who I was as a business owner, but I wasn't really clear on who I am as a female, as a wife specifically.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one part about it. And then, the support group is essential. I remember one time years ago, the boys were little and I was at a chiropractic conference. And I remember this higher volume male chiropractor, he pulled me aside and he said, Nicole, how do you do it? And the answer that just came shooting out of my mouth was Joe. Like, if it wasn't for Joe, that support system, like, there's no
Hmm.
way that I can do it.
Hmm.
Right? Because you need a team. And so for me, yeah, that was my husband, but it doesn't have to be a husband. It can be a partner, it can be a dear friend, it can be our nanny. So when the boys were young, we hired Miss Lauren. And I don't know if our audience knows this, but you know this, Joe had passed away in July of 2024, so about a year and a half ago. And the first person that I called was Miss Lauren. I said, hey, what are you up to? Like, I want you to come back and work in my house. She goes, Nicole, she goes, the boys are grown. She's like, one's going to college. I go, I know, but you're my nanny,
You
right?
hired a nanny for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Oh,
I needed help. I needed support
absolutely.
with all the things that Joe was responsible for around the house that,
Yeah.
that I
Absolutely, Nicole. Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
So
Yeah.
she's here today. She's in the house. She's in the house today as
Oh,
I'm doing
good.
the podcast.
Oh, good. So
Yeah.
a couple things to that. When I graduated school, chiropractic school, went to Massachusetts, Boston specifically, there were three other chiropractors who came up, and we had our mastermind group. We got together once a week, and
Mhm.
Peter joined that mastermind when I met him. And we decided to gather the families of our mastermind together once a month. And so once a month, we'd all get together at somebody's house or their office, home office, or whatever it was. We'd have a potluck. We'd we'd sit around and we started having babies and we shared advice. We all had a similar viewpoint. We were all very philosophically, kind of knowing that trusting our bodies, and we were less likely to go the medical route and do drugs. Most of us did home births. So we were able
Mhm.
to share like ideas and thoughts and experiences with each other. I would encourage our readership to find a group of people, get together on a regular basis. So
Yep.
that's number one. And that group has evolved over the years to become the Mass Alliance for Chiropractic Philosophy, getting together once a month on a
Mhm.
weekend night with the family. The kids were invited. You get babysitters, you have a speaker, and then you all socialize and have dinner together. So that is still ongoing in Massachusetts. It's been going since 1983. So proud to
Wow.
say that I was one of the founders of that group. The other thing is to have a date night.
Mm.
Have a date night. If you're not married, you know, go out with friends, do something at least once a week. Peter and I, Thursday night was our date night. We would go
Mhm.
out, we'd get a babysitter, and it just kept our relationship fresh. I mean, we still, the romance is still very, very strong within our relationship. And
Mhm.
we work at it. It's not like we had a perfect, everybody looks at Patty and Peter. Oh, you're just the perfect couple. We want to be just like you. You want to be just like you. You want to find your essence. And we have traveled this road for 42 years and we've evolved and we've had some rough spots and we got through it because we saw the bigger picture. There
Mhm.
were points where we said, do we want to keep doing this together? And
Mhm.
our answer was yes, because together we are making a bigger difference in our lives, in the lives of our kids, and in our profession. So that evolved to where we are today. We
Yeah.
basically retired, and now he is retired as the president of a chiropractic college, and I have retired
He's
as
still getting up at 4:30 in the morning and
oh
getting to that
yeah,
college. He is
oh
not retired, lady.
yeah, no, we're not retired. Just in
He'll
the
never
sense where
retire.
people say after 65 or 70, he's 69. I just turned 73,
Mhm.
and still going strong. Still, we host twice a quarter at Life
Mhm.
Chiropractic College West. We host an evening called Reality Adjustments.
Mhm.
And the student body, they don't have to come. We invite anybody who wants to come. And the first time we did it, we had 50 students after hours, after classes, at night. And last time, a few weeks ago, we had 80 students. It was standing room only. So
Wow.
we're doing something right. They're,
Yes.
you know, they, they want to know the experience that we've had. We
Mhm.
all want to know the unknown, right? Right. What is that
Yes.
unknown life we're going to have when we get out of chiropractic school? And you know what we can share, just like we're sharing here. But everybody, again, go back to everybody's going to have their own experience, and it's
Yes.
okay. And it's okay to fall flat on your face, uh, yet have the tools to know you're going to get up. And maybe somebody's going to drag you up. Maybe somebody's going to lift you up. Maybe you have to drag yourself up. but find
Mhm.
ways now that, get things lined up now so that if that
Yes,
happens or when that happens, you know who to call and you know that they're going to come and be there for you. That's,
definitely.
I think that is really the point of this whole podcast today is
Agreed.
the support and to prepare, pre-plan for that, and know
Yeah.
that plans, God laughs when we make our plans
Sometimes he does. Yes, this is true.
with us, not at us.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're coming actually already to the end of our podcast recording on what's next. And Patty, you just gave me a really good idea for our next recording topic.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we next episode talk about being a chiropractic business owner and being in relationships?
Okay. Sounds
Kind of
good.
how it affects our relationships and what do we do? What do you guys think about that? Why don't you guys leave us some feedback when you guys watch these podcasts? Let us know if this is of value to you.
Yeah.
Um, and let us know what you guys want to hear.
Yeah, give us
Because
throw some questions out to us,
yeah,
you know?
me and Patty will just sit here and shoot the shit all day if you don't. So
Sounds good. Sounds good, Nicole. Oh, I love you, Nicole.
oh, I love you
Bless
too,
you, bless
Patty.
you, bless you.
Thank you. All
Mm,
right, you guys. So many blessings. Patty and I will see you in 2 weeks. And I guess now you know what we're going to be chatting about next week, practice and relationships. All
mhm.
right, many blessings. Patty, hold on. Don't hang up.